Now we see some Marines coming out the front door of the West Wing there. So here we go. Here's President Trump coming out that doorway of the White House. He's standing there, the awaiting media pack. As you can imagine, a huge travelling pack has come with President Zelensky, or shouting questions to him. Here is President Zelensky's vehicle now driving up the driveway, turning around to enter into the portico, followed by that minibus with his entourage, as I was mentioning. You'll see the vehicle just pulling up to the portico there, President Trump waiting on President Zelensky. There may be a slight few, there you can see the vehicle there pulling up. Slight delay between what I'm seeing in real life here, I guess, and the relaying of the video images. President Zelensky now out of the vehicle. There we go. A warm handshake between President Trump and President Zelensky. Let's listen. So yeah, nothing audible there anyway, but the reporters who were shouting those questions are some way back from the doorway where President Trump and President Zelensky shook hands. They've gone now into the West Wing, into the Oval Office. The next thing that will happen, there's a kind of, I suppose, theatre in an organisation to these visits. They'll go into the Oval Office. Members of the White House pool will go in with them, as there are hundreds of journalists here. They can't all fit in the Oval Office, so there are some of the regular White House reporters, and then the visiting Ukrainian media as well will go into the Oval Office, where there will be some initial footage of them. We've seen in past days, past visits of foreign leaders, President Trump and the visiting leader take a number of questions from the media pack there. It's not clear whether they're going to do that today. We're often told these things in advance, and we haven't been told that in advance today. So we will see just what we hear. Obviously, we'll bring anything we get from the Oval Office straight to you as soon as we have it. But James, that is a moment that I suppose seemed potentially in doubt a few weeks ago. A warm handshake, a warm smile and greeting between the two men.
Absolutely, and optics matter. Donald Trump did indeed come out and greet President Zelensky, as he did with the UK Prime Minister and French President before. That matters to Ukraine, and I think for President Zelensky, he hinted at this, what is going to be so important to him is meeting the US President before he inevitably meets Vladimir Putin of Russia. It was a very hard sight, I think, for Kyiv to see those senior US officials in Saudi Arabia embark on negotiations about the future of a country which wasn't even present. And so today does mark a changing of the political tide, and you wonder what has made Donald Trump change his approach. Perhaps he is eyeing this lucrative mineral deal, which will enable him to, which will be a political coup, something to, in his eyes, that would reimburse America for the billions of dollars of military aid it has given to Ukraine. President Zelensky is adamant. He says this isn't about Ukraine repaying debt. He said, I'm not going to repay 10 cents of debt. This is about a future investment that he hopes will turn into something more. So you now wonder about the conversation these two leaders will have over a working lunch. President Zelensky will try and impress upon him that if Ukraine was to succumb to Russia's full-scale invasion, then he would argue Russia will not stop here. He will apply pressure to other parts of Europe, where the NATO alliance has come under strain as well, not least with the US voting against a UN resolution recognising Russia's aggression, recognising Ukraine's territorial integrity. The idea of NATO coming to one another's aid is now less assured than it ever has been, and I think President Zelensky will try to convey what is at stake, not just for his country but further afield, and perhaps he might go over
and the
what
optics
has happened
of this
to Ukraine
really
over the last 11 years.
Sorry, James, the optics of this really matter. I mean, just as we're looking here now of a replay of that moment of President Zelensky getting out of the vehicle and being greeted by President Trump. President Trump in his trademark blue suit and red tie, and President Zelensky in what has become his trademark combat fatigues, basically coming to this meeting very much to make that point to President Trump. Our country is at war. We have been invaded. We need your help, and we'll see what we hear back from President Trump in the coming hours.
We absolutely will. And President Zelensky said from day one of the full-scale invasion, a suit didn't feel right. He changed into the military fatigues you've seen him in since. His cabinet, his senior advisors were similar. They appeared in a video in those early 48 hours saying we are still here, and it is a very deliberate approach. When you look at pictures now of President Zelensky in a suit, it feels like a lifetime ago. And you know, when we saw him before he left on this trip, a trip which would have taken him the best part of 3 days, well, 2 days to get to Washington because you can't fly over Ukraine, you could see that he wears this war. It is part of his political being, and he will look to get a return today in the White House.
Indeed, making a stopover in Ireland and meeting the Taoiseach of Ireland, Micheál Martin, there, and speaking about the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees who fled their homes 3 years ago and still haven't been able to return. Of course, an aspect that we have to remember as well. But as of now, both leaders inside the Oval Office having that meeting. We'll bring you everything we get from it as soon as we get it. A very, very crucial, critical meeting for many countries, not least, of course, Ukraine. So do stay with us here on BBC News.